Mr. Davidson felt the world spin around him like a broken merry-go-round. He grabbed the park bench with both hands, tried to make everything stop moving. His expensive suit felt too tight. His head felt like someone was squeezing it with giant hands. Not again, he whispered to himself. This was the third time this week. The doctors said it was stress. They said rich people always felt tired because they worked too hard. They gave him pills, big ones, small ones, red ones, blue ones, but nothing helped. Every day he felt weaker. Every day the world seemed darker and more blurry. David was a millionaire. He owned 3 big companies. He had a mansion with 12 bedrooms, a swimming pool shaped like a dolphin, and 7 fancy cars. Everyone said he had a perfect life. Everyone said he was lucky. But lucky people don't feel like they're dying. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The park smelled like fresh grass and flowers. Birds were singing. Children were laughing somewhere far away. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. Then he heard a voice, a small, serious voice. You're not sick because of stress. David opened his eyes. Standing in front of him was a little girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. Her clothes were old and dirty. Her shoes had holes in them. Her dark hair was messy, like she hadn't brushed it in days. But her eyes were sharp and bright, like she could see things other people couldn't. Excuse me? David said, confused. You're not sick, the girl repeated. She didn't look scared of him, even though he was a big, important man, and she was just a small, poor child. The doctors are wrong. David wanted to tell her to go away. He wanted to say that little girls shouldn't bother strangers in park. But something about her face made him stop. She looked worried about him. What do you mean? He asked. The girl stepped closer. She looked around the park, making sure nobody else was listening. Then she spoke in a low, careful voice. It's your wife. She's putting something in your food. The words hit David like a punch in the stomach. He stared at the girl. His mouth opened, but no words came out. That's crazy, he finally said. My wife loves me. We've been married for 15 years. She takes care of me. She makes my meals. She gives me my medicine. He stopped talking. The girl was shaking her head. That's how she's doing it, the girl said. In your meals, in your medicine. She's making you weak. Little by little, day by day. David felt angry now. Who was this dirty little girl to say such horrible things about his beautiful wife? His wife, Helen, was perfect. She had golden hair and a sweet smile. She always wore pretty dresses. She always said nice things. She was a woman everyone wished they could marry. You don't know what you're talking about, David said, his voice getting louder. My wife is a good person. Why would she hurt me? The girl didn't back away. She stood there, calm and steady, like a small tree in a big storm. I've been watching, she said. I sleep in the alley behind your house sometimes. I see things through your kitchen window. I saw her put white powder in your soup last Tuesday. I saw her crush pills into your orange juice on Thursday. I saw her smile while she did it. David's heart started beating fast. Too fast. His hands were shaking. You're lying, he said, but his voice didn't sound sure anymore. I'm not lying, the girl said. Her eyes looked sad now. My mama died because someone poisoned her. It looked just like what's happening to you. She got dizzy. She got weak. She couldn't see well. The doctor said it was her heart, but it wasn't her heart. It was poison, slow poison, the kind that makes you sick over weeks and months, so nobody knows. David felt cold, even though the sun was shining. He remembered things, strange things, like how Helen always insisted on making his food herself. She never let the cook prepare his meals. She said it was because she loved him, because she wanted to take care of him personally. He remembered how she always brought him pills. Take your vitamins, darling, she would say with her sweet smile. Take your heart medicine. Take your stress pills. So many pills. Every day, more pills. He remembered how he started feeling sick right after their anniversary last year. They had gone on a trip to Paris. It was supposed to be romantic. But he felt terrible the whole time. Helen had been so caring, so worried. She fed him soup in their hotel room. She gave him medicine. She held his hand. And he got worse. Why are you telling me this? David asked the girl. His voice came out like a whisper. Because you're a die if you don't stop her, the girl said simply. And because you're the only person who's ever been nice to me. David frowned. What do you mean? I've never met you before. Yes, you have, the girl said. 3 months ago. It was raining. I was sitting outside the big cafe on Main Street. You came out with your wife. She walked past me like I was invisible. But you stopped. You gave me $20 and a sandwich. You smiled at me like I was a real person, not just trash on the street. David remembered. He did that sometimes. Gave money to poor children. Helen always got angry about it. They'll just waste it, she would say. Don't encourage them. The girl continued. You asked me my name. I said Amina. You said it was a beautiful name. Then your wife pulled you away. But I never forgot. You were kind when you didn't have to be. Tears started rolling down Amina's dirty cheeks. So, when I saw what she was doing to you through the window, I had to tell you. I couldn't let you die. Not you. David felt his whole world crack open like an egg. Everything he thought was true might be a lie. Everything safe might be dangerous. The person he loved most might be the person trying to kill him. What do I do? He asked the small, brave girl who seemed wiser than any adult he knew. Amina wiped her tears with her dirty sleeve. Go home, she said. But don't eat anything she gives you. Not anything. Watch her. Really watch her. And if you catch her, you'll know I'm telling the truth. David stood up from the bench. His legs felt weak, but his mind felt sharper than it had in months. Will you come with me? He asked. Amina shook her head. She can't see me. Not yet, but I'll be watching from the alley. If you need help, open the back door and wave. I'll be there. David looked at the skinny, dirty, brave little girl. She had nothing. No home. No family. No money. But she had something he had lost. She knew the difference between what looked good and what was actually good. Thank you, Amina, he said. She nodded once, then ran away across the park, her broken shoes flapping against the ground. David walked toward his car, his heart pounding. He was going home. But for the first time in 15 years, he was afraid of what or who was waiting for him there. David's hands shook as he drove his shiny black car toward his mansion. The big house stood on a hill, surrounded by beautiful gardens and tall iron gates. It looked like a castle from a fairy tale. But now, as David looked at it, the house seemed different. It looked like a pretty cage. He parked the car and sat there for a moment, breathing hard. His phone buzzed. A text message from Helen. Welcome home, darling. I made your favorite soup for lunch. Come eat while it's hot. Red Heart, his favorite soup. Mushroom soup with cream and herbs. Helen made it every Wednesday. And every Wednesday, he felt terrible afterward. He always thought it was because mushrooms were hard to digest. But what if it wasn't the mushrooms? David got out of the car slowly. He walked to the front door like a detective entering a crime scene. Everything looked the same. The white columns, the rose bushes, the fountain with angels. But everything felt different. He opened the door quietly. David, you're home. Helen came running from the kitchen. She looked beautiful, like always. Her golden hair was perfect. Her blue dress matched her eyes. She smelled like expensive perfume and vanilla. She kissed his cheek. Her lips felt cold. You look tired, my love, she said, touching his face with her soft hands. Come, sit down. I'll bring you your soup. And I got your new vitamins from the pharmacy. The doctor said they'll help with your dizziness. New vitamins. More pills. Actually, David said, trying to keep his voice normal, I'm not very hungry right now. I ate a big breakfast. This was a lie. He hadn't eaten anything. Helen's smile froze for just a second. Just one tiny second. But David saw it. But, darling, you need to eat, she said. Her voice still sounded sweet, but there was something sharp underneath it, like a knife hidden in honey. You're getting so thin. I worry about you. I'll eat later, David said. I need to make some phone calls first. Work stuff. He walked past her toward his office. Behind him, he heard Helen say something, but he didn't stop. His heart was beating so loud he thought she might hear it. In his office, David locked the door. He sat at his big desk and put his head in his hands. Was he crazy? Was he really believing some street kid over his own wife? But then he thought about Amina's eyes. They weren't the eyes of a liar. They were the eyes of someone who had seen terrible things and didn't want to see them again. David made a decision. He would watch. He would test. He would find out the truth. He waited in his office for an hour. Then he walked back to the kitchen, acting normal. "Okay, I'm ready for that soup now," he said with a fake smile. Helen's face lit up like sunshine. "Wonderful. Sit down, darling. I'll heat it up." David sat at the big dining table. He watched Helen go to the stove. She was humming a happy song. She ladled the thick, creamy soup into a fancy bowl. Then she turned her back to him. David leaned forward, trying to see what she was doing. Helen's hand moved to a small jar on the counter. It was hidden behind the flour container. David had never noticed it before. She opened the jar quickly, glanced back at him. He pretended to check his phone, and then shook something white into the soup. Just a little bit, like adding salt. But it wasn't salt. She stirred the soup, closed the jar, hid it again. Then she turned around with her beautiful smile and brought him the bowl. "Eat up, my love," she said. "It's extra special today." David looked down at the soup. It looked delicious. It smelled amazing. The white powder had disappeared completely into the cream. "Aren't you eating?" he asked. "Oh, I ate earlier," Helen said quickly. "This batch is just for you. Just for him. Special. Poison." David felt sick, but not from dizziness this time. From fear. From betrayal. From the horrible truth sitting in a bowl in front of him. "Actually, I need to use the bathroom first," he said, standing up. "But the soup will get cold," Helen started. "I'll be quick," David said, and he rushed out of the room. He went to the bathroom and locked the door. He was shaking all over. It was true. Amina was right. His wife, his beautiful, sweet wife, was poisoning him. But why? Why would she do this? He needed proof. Real proof. Not just what he saw. David splashed cold water on his face. He looked at himself in the mirror. His face was pale. His eyes had dark circles. He had lost so much weight. He looked like a ghost. "I'm not going to die," he whispered to his reflection. "Not like this." He went back to the dining room. The soup was still there, waiting like a trap. "Feeling better?" Helen asked. She was sitting across from him now, watching him with her big blue eyes. "Much better," David lied. He picked up a spoon. Helen leaned forward, excited. David brought the spoon to his lips, then pretended to get a phone call. "Oh, sorry, it's my lawyer. Emergency. I have to take this," he said, standing up again. Helen's face changed. Her smile disappeared. Her eyes got hard and cold, like ice. "David," she said. Her voice wasn't sweet anymore. "Sit down and eat your soup." It wasn't a request. It was a command. "I said I have to. Now." David had never heard her talk like that before. Never in 15 years. They stared at each other. The room felt very quiet and very dangerous. Then David heard a sound. A small knock on the back door. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more knocks. "Amina." "Fine," David said. "Let me just lock the front door first. I don't want anyone disturbing us." He walked toward the back of the house instead. Helen followed him, suspicious now. David opened the back door. Amina was standing there in the alley, her dirty face full of worry. "Did you see?" she whispered. "I saw," David whispered back. "What's going on?" Helen's voice came from behind him, sharp as broken glass. David turned around. He looked at his wife, really looked at her, maybe for the first time ever. "Why?" he asked simply. Helen's perfect face twisted into something ugly. "Why what?" "Why are you poisoning me?" The words hung in the air like smoke. Helen laughed, but it wasn't a nice laugh. It was a scary laugh, like a witch in a dark forest. "Poisoning you?" "David." You're being ridiculous. That's just some street rat filling your head with nonsense. You're sick because you're old and stressed. Now come back inside and—" "I saw you," David said. His voice was stronger now. "I saw you put powder in my soup. I've been getting sicker and sicker since our anniversary. Every time you make me special food, every time you give me vitamins." Helen's face went very pale, then very red. "You don't understand," she said. Her voice was shaking. I had to do it. Had to." David couldn't believe what he was hearing. Had to kill me? Not kill you. Helen shouted. Just make you weak. Just make you need me. You were always so busy, so important, always working, always with other people. I needed you to need me, to depend on me, to never leave me. Tears were running down her face now, ruining her perfect makeup. You're so rich, David. Everyone wants you. Beautiful women at your parties, secretaries at your office. I see how they look at you. But if you were sick, if you needed me to take care of you, you would never leave. You would be mine, only mine, forever. David felt like he couldn't breathe. This woman he loved, who he thought loved him, had been slowly killing him just to keep him trapped. That's not love, Helen, he said quietly. That's prison. Amina stepped into the doorway, brave and small. My mama died like this, she said to Helen. My papa made her sick the same way. He said he loved her. But love doesn't hurt people. Love doesn't poison. Love sets you free. Helen looked at Amina with pure hatred. You, she hissed. This is all your fault. You stupid little beggar. You ruined everything. She lunged toward Amina, but David grabbed Helen's arm. Don't touch her, he said. His voice was cold as ice. She saved my life, which is more than I can say for you. Helen started crying and screaming, but David didn't care anymore. He pulled out his phone and dialed 3 numbers. 911. I need the police, he said calmly. And an ambulance. My wife has been poisoning me. As Helen collapsed on the floor, crying and begging, David looked at Amina. The little girl who had nothing gave him a small, sad smile. She had saved him. A child with broken shoes and dirty clothes had saved a millionaire from his own beautiful nightmare. Thank you, David whispered. In the distance, sirens began to wail. End of Section 2. The story concludes in Section 3, where justice arrives, new beginnings unfold, and David learns what real wealth truly means. Yes, we like, share, and subscribe. 6:13 Section 3. Choosing truth over lies. The police cars pulled up the mansion with their red and blue lights flashing like a carnival. But this wasn't a celebration. This was the end of a terrible secret. 2 officers came to the door. One was tall with kind eyes. The other was a woman with short hair and a serious face. Mr. Chun, the tall officer said. We got your call. David nodded. He felt very tired, but also strangely awake, like he had been sleeping for a year, and finally opened his eyes. My wife has been poisoning me, he said. The words sounded crazy, like something from a movie, but they were true. Helen was still on the floor, crying. Her perfect hair was messy now. Her makeup was running down her face in black rivers. He's lying, she screamed. I would never. He's confused. He's sick. That dirty little girl is filling his head with lies. The female officer looked at Amina, who was standing quietly by the door. Try to make herself invisible. Is this true, sweetheart? The officer asked Amina gently. Did you see something? Amina nodded. Her voice was small but clear. I saw her put white powder in the soup. I've been sleeping in the alley for 2 months. I saw her do it lots of times. Always when she thought nobody was watching. She's a street kid. Helen shouted. She's probably trying to get money from him. She's a liar. Then you won't mind if we test the soup, the tall officer said calmly. He walked to the dining room. The bowl was still sitting there, getting cold. He pulled out a plastic bag and carefully poured the soup into it. We'll send this to the lab, he said. We'll also need to search your kitchen, ma'am. Helen's face went white as paper. You can't. You need a warrant, she started. Mr. Chin owns this house. the female officer said. "He's giving us permission. Aren't you, Mr. Chun?" "Yes," David said firmly. "Search everything." The officers went to the kitchen. David heard them opening cabinets, moving jars, looking in drawers. Then the tall officer's voice called out, "Found something." He came back holding the small jar that Helen had hidden behind the flour. Inside was white powder like sugar or salt, but it wasn't sugar or salt. "What is this, Mrs. Chun?" he asked. Helen didn't answer. She just cried harder. The officer opened the jar and smelled it carefully. His face got very serious. "This smells like rat poison mixed with something else. We'll need to test it, but..." He looked at David with sad eyes. "Sir, if you've been ingesting this regularly, you need to get to a hospital right now." An ambulance had arrived with the police cars. Paramedics came in with a stretcher and medical equipment. A young paramedic with red hair checked David's heartbeat, his blood pressure, his eyes. "Your heart is racing," she said with worry. "Your blood pressure is very low. Have you been feeling dizzy, weak, sick to your stomach?" "Every day," David said, "for almost a year." "We need to get you treated immediately," the paramedic said. "The doctors will need to flush the toxins from your system." As they prepared to take David to the ambulance, Helen suddenly stopped crying. She looked up at him with those blue eyes that used to make his heart melt. "David, please," she whispered. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was scared. Scared of losing you. Don't send me to jail. Please. We can fix this. We can go back to how things were. I'll stop. I promise I'll stop. Just give me another chance." David looked at her. Part of him, the part that remembered 15 years of marriage, of anniversaries and holidays and quiet mornings, wanted to believe her, wanted to forgive her. But then he looked at Amina, this brave little girl who had nothing but still risked everything to save a stranger. She was watching him with those sharp, knowing eyes, and David understood something important, something he should have known all along. Love doesn't trap. Love doesn't control. Love doesn't poison. Real love sets you free. "No, Helen," he said quietly. "We can't go back. You didn't just poison my food. You poisoned our whole marriage. That wasn't love. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't love." The female officer helped Helen to her feet and put handcuffs on her wrists. "Helen Chun, you're under arrest for attempted murder," she said. "You have the right to remain silent." As they read Helen her rights and took her to the police car, she screamed and cried and begged. But David turned away. He had spent a year listening to her sweet voice tell him lies. He didn't need to hear any more. The paramedics put David on the stretcher. As they wheeled him toward the ambulance, he reached out and grabbed Amina's dirty hand. "Come with me," he said. "To the hospital?" Amina looked scared. "Yes." And then, "I don't know where you've been staying, but you're not sleeping in an alley anymore." Amina's eyes got very wide. "What do you mean?" I'm going to help you. The way you helped me. Actually, no, better than that. Because you saved my life without asking for anything in return. That's real kindness. That's real love." Tears filled Amina's eyes, but this time they were happy tears. "But I'm nobody," she whispered. "I'm just a dirty street kid." "No," David said firmly. "You're the person who was brave enough to tell the truth when it was dangerous. You're the person who cared about a stranger. You're a hero, Amina, and heroes deserve better than alleys." David stood in front of a big building with a bright red ribbon across the door. News cameras were pointing at him. Reporters were asking questions. But he wasn't nervous. Not anymore. The doctors had saved him. They pumped medicine into his body that cleaned out the poison. It took weeks, but slowly he got stronger. His head stopped spinning. His eyes could see clearly again. He could walk without falling down. Helen was in jail, waiting for her trial. David had filed for divorce. He didn't hate her, but he couldn't forgive her either. Some things break so badly they can't be fixed. But something good came from something terrible. "Ladies and gentlemen," David said into the microphone, "I'm proud to open the Amina House. This is a shelter for homeless children. A safe place where they can sleep, eat, learn, and be protected. No child should have to sleep in an alley. No child should have to beg for food. And every child deserves to be heard when they tell the truth. Everyone clapped. Cameras flashed. Standing next to David was Amina, but she looked different now. She was wearing clean clothes, jeans, and a bright yellow t-shirt. Her hair was washed and braided. She had new shoes that didn't have holes. She was living with a kind foster family who loved her. But the biggest change was her smile. She looked happy. She looked safe. Amina taught me something important, David continued. She taught me that real wealth isn't money or mansions or fancy cars. Real wealth is truth. It's kindness. It's courage. It's caring about others even when it doesn't benefit you. He looked down at Amina and winked. She also taught me to pay attention, to really look at people and situations, not just what they appear beyond the surface. My life looked perfect from the outside, but inside it was poison. Sometimes the people who look like they have everything are actually dying inside. And sometimes the people who look like they have nothing are actually the richest of all. After the ceremony, reporters asked David questions. "Are you angry at your wife?" One reporter asked. "I was," David said honestly. "But anger is also poison. Now I just feel sad. Sad that she thought love meant control. Sad that she was so afraid of losing me that she almost killed me. I hope she gets help in prison. I hope she learns what real love is." "What will you do now?" another reporter asked. "I'm selling the mansion," David said. "It has too many bad memories. I'm buying a smaller house, a normal house, and I'm using my money differently, not just for myself, but for others. I'm funding programs that teach people about the warning signs of abuse and poisoning. I'm helping street kids get off the streets. I'm trying to do what Amina did for me, save lives." A young reporter asked, "What would you say to someone who's in a relationship where they feel controlled or trapped?" David thought carefully before answering. "I would say, pay attention to how you feel, not just what your partner says. If someone really loves you, they want you to be strong, not weak. They want you to be free, not trapped. They want you to be healthy, not sick. Love should make you better, not worse. And if someone is hurting you, even if they say it's because they love you, that's not love. That's danger. Get help. Tell someone. Don't wait until it's almost too late, like I did." After all the cameras left and the crowds went home, David and Amina sat on a bench in the park. The same bench where they first met. The same bench where a little girl changed a millionaire's life. "Are you happy?" David asked her. Amina thought about it. "Yes," she said. "My foster parents are nice. I have my own room. I go to school now. I'm learning to read better. And I have a friend." "Just one friend?" David smiled. "One is enough." Amina said wisely, "One real friend is worth more than 100 fake ones." She looked at the mansion on the hill, the one that David was selling. "Do you miss her?" Amina asked. "Your wife?" David was quiet for a long time. "I miss who I thought she was," he finally said. "But that person never really existed. She was just pretending. The real Helen was scared and controlling and dangerous. So no, I don't miss the real her. I wish she could have been the person she pretended to be. My mama used to say something." Amina said softly. She said that some people wear beautiful masks, but underneath, they're monsters. And some people look like monsters, but underneath, they're angels. You have to look past the surface to see the truth. "Your mama was very wise," David said. "Yeah," Amina said, her voice sad. "I wish she was still here." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun set over the city. The sky turned orange and pink and purple, like a painting. "Thank you, Amina," David said, "for being brave, for telling me the truth, even though it was scary. You saved my life." "You're welcome," Amina said. Then she added, "And thank you for listening. Lots of grown-ups don't listen to kids. They think we don't know anything. But sometimes kids see things that grown-ups miss." "I'll never make that mistake again," David promised. As darkness fell, they walked away from the bench together. The millionaire who almost died and the street girl who saved him. They looked like an odd pair, but they were friends. Real friends. The kind who tell the truth even when it hurts. The kind who save each other. And in the end, that's worth more than all the money in the world. The lesson: wealth means nothing if you don't have your health and truth. Real love doesn't control or hurt. It sets you free. Sometimes the smallest voices speak the biggest truths. And courage isn't about being big or strong or rich. Courage is about doing the right thing even when you're small, poor, and scared. Amina was just a little girl with nothing, but she had something more valuable than money. She had kindness and bravery. David was a millionaire with everything, but he almost lost what mattered most, his life. Together, they learned that the best kind of wealth is the kind you can't buy. Truth, friendship, and the courage to choose what's right over what's comfortable. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales that teach important lessons about life, love, and courage. Remember, the truth might hurt, but lies can kill. Always pay attention to the people who care enough to tell you the truth, even when it's hard to hear.